You're listening to the Badger State Ball Podcast with Prep Baseball Wisconsin, breaking down the top high school prospects and featuring all things college baseball recruiting in a changing world. Hosted by Vinny Rotino, Josh Fields, and Andy Sroka, this is Badger State Ball.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Badger State Ball Podcast. Joining us here again today, as per usual, Prep Baseball Wisconsin State Director Vinny Rotino, our area scout, data analyst Josh Fields. Josh, I kind of made up that title for you, so I hope you like it.
Thanks.
And myself, national managing editor of Prep Baseball, Illinois turned Wisconsin kid, Andy Sroka. That's me. All right, well, a lot to get to. So last weekend we were in Waukesha for our West Milwaukee ID. This past Saturday we traveled up to De Pere for the Green Bay Preseason ID at Impact Sports Academy. I myself wasn't there. I was down in the Chicago area for an Illinois event, so it was just Vinny and Josh up there along with the rest of our staff. So they're going to take the lead on some of the analysis and takeaways from that event, but it's always an important one for us just because this is part of a state that we don't get to travel to too much, unfortunately, but we're working on that, trying to change it. There's obviously a ton of talent up there, so we're going to get into that a little bit more, talk about the players from programs that are more of the D2, D3, D4, WIAA levels, so we kind of have to pick and choose during the spring. Josh knows especially prioritizing which prospects to see at which teams, and sometimes that leaves those types of schools on the outside looking in, unfortunately. But events like this one at Green Bay really help us just determine who to prioritize seeing in the spring for a ton of different reasons. So we will dig into that here, and we'll just start leading off with some of the top players in attendance from this past Saturday's event. I wanted to start with, coincidentally, a non-Wisconsin player, but I always feel bad a little bit for the players up in the UP. Lennox Peacock Jr. from Escanaba, Michigan. He was actually on Team Michigan last summer at the Future Games in August. He's a physical 6'4" right-hander with mid to upper 80s stuff. But one of you guys want to take the lead on Lennox, since he's one of the top uncommitted kids on this roster?
Yeah, for sure. He was one of the first arms to throw. He came as a pitcher only. It was a PO. He showed up. I mean, the first thing that stands out to you when you see Lennox on the mound is just the imposing presence, and you see how big that this kid is going to be once he is done filling out. It's a very, very quick arm. It's an explosive delivery down the mound. When he is consistently in the zone, I got to imagine it's going to be a very, very uncomfortable at-bat for both-handed hitters, really. I mean, the stuff is moving all over the place. It really does explode through the hitting zone. He's got a sharp breaking ball, and the changeup was really, really nasty, late depth at the plate. A lot to like about Lennox. I feel like there is a lot of ceiling here, right? So, I mean, this kid is going to, once he taps into that ceiling and is just really consistent with his delivery, you're going to see this kid really take off and take big strides at that next level. But you really like what you saw from – I really like what I saw from Lennox on the mound 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just on metrics alone, when you're talking about a physical 6'4" kid like this, who it seems like can pitch, it has stuff that complements each other. It's those are almost the things that are tougher to find or teach. And so when it's right now, okay, he's 86, 88, maybe there's some guys in his age range throwing harder, it's almost well, we'll worry about that later because you're doing things right now that are plenty good enough to get outs at the next level. So Lennox Peacock, a big winner from Saturday that maybe we would have expected to see in that category, but good to see him, just getting better and better. We'll move on to, there's a candidate here. We'll just tease it out now. Colin Reddy, we'll talk about you a little bit later in a segment to be determined, so just be on the lookout for that one. But I also want to mention one of our favorites, actually, Braylon Brantler from Hortonville Jr., 5'9" righty, who has always just been a pitchability guy, gets a ton of outs, throws strikes, competitive kid. I'm not sure which of you guys saw him Saturday, but if you guys want to add a little bit more to Brantner's latest look, that'd be great.
Yeah, I saw him in Fields. If you want to add anything, because it was just impressive. Just the body. Remember too, last year I missed the Wisconsin State games due to my responsibilities with the Brewers broadcast team. And so I actually missed his performance on the mound last year at the Wisconsin State games, but I went back and watched the video. It was really impressive. This was even a step up from that, right? I mean, it was 86, 87 with the heater. He's got a tight little curveball for strikes, a good little deceptive changeup. Everything's kind of out of the same window. It's smooth, it's easy, it's repeatable, but he's got a really twitchy, quick arm. From such a small body, you wouldn't think that this kind of velocity and power would come out of that arm, but it does. He can really pitch. He can repeat it. So, yeah, Braylon Brantner from Hortonville, another arm from Hortonville.
Yep.
Yeah, and Vinny was touching on the history with Brantner. Like, it's always a guy that throws a ton of strikes, competes in the zone, just in-game as well, and it's just a bunch of consistency with all of his pitches. So just another guy to watch out for.
Yeah, and again, just to reiterate that, I feel like the more and more we do this, like those are the skills that are almost tougher to find. Like some of these guys that pop up in the preseason, you throw really hard. Like, yeah, we're eager to see that in the spring, and like maybe the velocity stays the same, like which is great. But spraying the fastball around, like not being able to get out of the first or second inning, it's like, all right, that's almost tougher to erase from our minds than it is this guy who just consistently can pitch, and we'll figure out the rest later, which kind of fits Brantner's mold. So good stuff there. There's also a trio of lefties here, and I'm not sure, Fields, if you saw, I know you were on hitting for most of the day, but regardless, you probably know a little bit about these three, but they're all similarly built. So they're all, each of them are like in the 6'1", 180-pound range. Each are athletic, like mid to upper 70s. So here we go, three uncommitted lefties that each deserve some attention here. Jacob Koopman from Menasha, Bergen On from Hudson, and Logan Wiersba from West De Pere. Do any of you guys want to take a stab at just kind of splitting these guys up? Because they actually do a lot of similar things. Like, that's not just a lazy comparison. Like, they're actually very similar in very good ways. But do any of you guys want to take a stab at splitting up these guys?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I mean, yeah, let's just talk about Logan Wiersba for a second here. Lean, 6'1", pretty athletic on the mound. It repeats everything. The arm action is super loose, super easy. Everything comes out the same window. Multiple feel for multiple pitches, and this is another guy that we've seen on the summer circuit pitch and perform well, and just seeing him take another step up over the winter is something that we were hoping to see from him.
Yeah, and I'll add in on Bergen On. I mean, so I didn't really realize how far of a crossfire delivery across his body that he actually was. I mean, how deceptive it's going to be. It is for both-handed hitters. I mean, good luck to lefties, right? So it's cross body. It's like a lower three-quarter type of an arm slot, and it's power coming out of there. It was 84. He's been up to, reports of more closer to 86, 87, but he got up to 87. I mean, he kind of pitched at 84 today, but you saw that there is plenty of velocity because of the quickness to the arm that is coming, and very explosive in the lower half as well. So wasn't coming out probably how he wanted in this look, but there is all kinds of upside here to Bergen On, and it's a big sweeping slider to go with it. Also has a changeup. Also has a curveball. So I mean, it's three distinct pitches. The curveball has more depth than sweep. The slider has more sweep to it. Again, good luck to left-handed hitters trying to hit that with how cross-fire he is. But it was good strikes as well. So really liked the look from Bergen On. And then Jacob Koopman. So he's typically been around like 84, but it was good. It was 86, 87 in this look, but it's very athletic and repeatable, smooth delivery from Koopman. So this kid can really pitch. Flashed a sharp slider and then a changeup as well. So all three of those were very, very impressive. I would say Bergen On did kind of separate himself just from the type of arm that you're looking at there. Just more deception than the other two, but all three of them can pitch.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean there. Where like On is kind of bringing something a little different, like a tougher look, I guess, on lefties. Whereas Koopman, in the past anyway, sort of relied on like his athleticism, quick arm on the mound, and he's flashed a really good slider for us in the past, like on a couple different occasions too. Just kind of a different setup there. And Wiersba, I think personally, he's got a ton of upside in my opinion. Eager to see him in the spring sometimes, hopefully, and if not the summer too there. So that sums up that trio of lefties. Really good, worth looking into there. Left-handed hitter here, middle infielder Liam Stoffel from Kewaskum. Left-handed hitter with barrel feel, looks like in the notes. 6 foot, 170 pounds. But Vinny, I think you had great grades on this kid, so you can elaborate.
Yeah, Stoffel, a good athlete, sweet left-handed swing. Really impressed with the left-handed swing there from Stoffel and Fields. You can add to that because you really liked him in the hitting portion as well. And then I think he can stick up the middle. Good enough arm strength to stick up the middle, and he's going to continue. A lot of these kids have yet to tap into their physicality. I think that was kind of the takeaway from this event. I think a lot of players here, and Stoffel included, have yet just to tap into that physicality that you're going to see from these projectable bodies, projectable frames in the future. But Stoffel is a good example of that. 6 foot, 170 pounds, but he's strong hands. He graded out well on the grip strength, which is, I think, an important metric when you take a look at these guys. So it was impressive. It's an up-the-middle defender with a really sweet left-handed swing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, just like you said, Vinny, just a lot left in the frame. It's wide shoulders, like slope shoulders as well. It's really just no muscle on this kid, and he's still barreling the baseball. It's a lot of fluidity, a lot of ease in the swing, and just really showcase on top of that the ability to manipulate the barrel throughout his round, just barreling up pitches in different parts of the zone as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Vinny. I think, but there's like a lot of these little signals with we do a ton of at our events that isn't just batting practice and so on, like the grip strength and stuff. Like, it sounds like a small thing, and I mean it is, I guess, in the big picture a small thing, but it's like all of these little signals that you're like, okay, this kid is way stronger than you might think just initially looking at him. Like down the road, it'd be interesting to see once he really does add some muscle, how much more it affects the way he's impacting the baseball. So good stuff there to Stoffel. Another guy here, John Zemer. You don't need to imagine too hard to think about the kind of impact that he's making in the middle of the lineup. He's a really big middle of the order type of right-handed hitter, listed at 6'2", 213 pounds, made some of the loudest contact of our winter so far, like just about a 94 mile an hour average exit velocity, 100.6 max. Actually runs okay for his size too, just when you're thinking about that, like a 7.38 runner. Not a bad time at all for a kid as physical as this one. Arm strength, just kind of does like a little bit of everything you'd expect out of a corner infield prospect, but Fields, anything to add really about like his round and maybe potential down the road?
Yeah, so you mentioned the run time. I did want to make sure and say it was a really easy, like 7.38, especially for a guy his size, moving that way. Just really impressive. And then, yes, it was a lot of loud contact, and it was a lot of elevation with leverage, a lot of backspin. It's a guy that you can see in game. We saw this past summer, a lot of elevation, like a lot of pull side contact, a lot of extra base hits, and you can see that from the swing, and it should continue throughout.
Yeah.
And it's a real swing too, right? He's not just chasing exit velocity. I mean, there's balance here. There's ability to manipulate the barrel, get through the baseball, backspin with elevation. So it's impressive all around. And then on defense, that's what really kind of jumped at me was the fact that like this is a potential real third baseman as well. Just the actions were smooth. So at an event, everyone takes it at shortstop, right? And first base. But if you're a third baseman, you're taking it at short, and it looked really fluid and easy. It's not a shortstop. At the next level, it's going to be a third baseman in college, in my opinion. But there was enough arm strength, and there was enough touch and feel with the throws, accurate throws, smooth and fluid with the arm stroke. So a lot to like about John Zemer. I mean, he's really kind of making us and forcing our hand into really paying attention to John Zemer with his performance, especially on Saturday.
Yeah, no, and that's a good call, Vinny, in terms of like the difference between like having a chance to continue to play third base at the next level or being kind of forced to figure out like first base or even DH.
Right.
Like, that's a massive difference in value, especially for like these coaches at like any level potentially, really. So I mean, if there's a chance, and it certainly seems like there is with Zemer, with the way he moves and the arm strength, that like he can continue to grow and develop at the hot corner. I mean, that's a great point for him and for us to pay attention to in the rankings and just moving forward. So credit to Zemer as he continues to work. So Next guy here, another like potential first base, corner outfielder type, Jackson Score. We had a ton of kids that showed well from Appleton North, and Jackson was one of them. He's like a top 150 rank for us already, but it seems like he added a lot more bat strength this offseason. Moves pretty well for his size too, 6'1", 709 runner. But either you guys, maybe Fields, you want to take the lead on Jackson Score and just the round he took at BP?
Yeah, so, I mean, there's a history, or we have a history with a lot of these guys here, and including Score. So the one takeaway I noticed throughout his round was it looked more natural from him. Like, he was on the barrel with ease. He was spraying the ball across the field, a lot of line drives, a lot of elevation, more fluidity, just an overall just better feel, more natural from Score during his round with BP.
Yes.
It was really good too. Like, it seemed like the way that he was getting ready to the hitting position, how loose and fluid that trigger was. It looked, I'm not comping him to this player, but you guys know you love my comps. But so it looked like Josh Donaldson the way that he was getting ready to the hitting position. It was a little bit of a leg kick, but it was under control. It was centered, and then just the hand trigger and how he was loading. And the sequence in which he was loading, so it wasn't like an early hand load, early hand pump, or anything like that. It was just sequential, and it looked really loose and fluid. And I'm really interested to see how this translates to the spring and summer seasons, because if it does, I mean, it was loud contact and it was all over the barrel. And Jackson Score could potentially be a guy that pops this spring.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's good to know because we're going to need to be paying attention, I think, to Appleton North this spring plenty. There's a lot of players on that roster that we're going to be paying attention to just throughout the spring and the summer. And Score, like I said, is definitely one of them. So good stuff out of Jackson. Couple Sheboygan North players here worth monitoring. Tristan Hunt, someone we were a little bit more familiar with. He's like a top 100 rank. We've always liked his left-handed swing. But another outfielder, Mark Williams, also a junior, really strong. I think Fields, you were telling me about him in event as well. Both of these kids are pretty athletic, but Williams really impressed just with his strength and athleticism. So Fields, you want to take the lead and elaborate on these two, the differences and similarities?
Yeah, so another guy we have history on, Tristan Hunt. It's a guy that's really hit for power in game, and throughout the offseason looks like he added a lot more physicality and was another guy that just took a much more polished round of BP than what we've seen in the past. Mark Williams was a guy that perhaps took the most impressive round of BP throughout the day. It was a lot of feel, almost instant bat speed from the right side, and just a lot of feel for the barrel, a lot of fluidity in the swing. It was flat, bunch of feel to manipulate, and on top of it, it's just an athlete. I didn't even know at the time, throughout his round at that time, I had already said this was one of my favorite rounds of the BP on the day. And then afterwards of the event, saw that he can throw from the outfield and he can also run.
Yeah, just looking at it metrically, it was really impressive. Yeah, Vinny, you got some?
No, just a 6'9" runner. I mean, just a sneaky good athlete, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to bet on those types of kids. Especially ones with that kind of swing, that kind of fluidity to the swing. I mean, these kids, and then also the fact that as you said, it's in game, real type of production. So Mark Williams, there's a lot to like about this kid, especially the athleticism and then the swing.
Yeah, Hunt and Williams, Sheboygan North. Yeah, pretty different players, but both really exciting. It'll be fun to find out where Mark fits in on the 2026 rankings, I think, because it sounds like he's definitely one. Another guy, I'll run through a few more here of the 2026s that stood out to us on Saturday. I mean, there were quite a few, so we'll elaborate more on the quick hit story that we published coming out of this event, but here's a few more to know. Sam Manchester from Hudson, another Hudson kid. Right-hand pitcher Nolan Sell from West Appear. Right-hand pitcher Owen Royland from Appleton North, so another Appleton North kid there too. But anything you guys want to add on each of those guys?
I mean, Sell, mid-80s fastball, 6'1". Again, I sound like a broken record in terms of the physicality that is coming, just 160 pounds from Sell. So his first ever look at this kid in a showcase setting, can't stress enough how important it is for you guys to show up at these events so we can identify you guys. You guys identify yourselves to us, because this is a perfect example now that Nolan Sell's going to be firmly on our radar. Manchester, same thing. Good athlete, 6'9" runner with bad speed. Ruland, the mid-80s fastball changeup. The mix is really good. So a lot to like about all three of those guys, but really good to see all three of those guys in event. We will certainly be taking note of those guys going forward.
Yeah, I actually, Fields, did you get a chance to look at Nolan Sell's metrics?
Because, no, but I did watch the video.
They were really good. I mean, this is a great example of like we'd not seen Sell in this showcase setting before, and then you just get this like first-hand view, and then also like the metrics, the actual like data behind it, because everything sort of stands out like metrically. Like I said, like the fastball, it seems like a real rise and run type of pitch in the mid-80s. He had this short slider. The changeup looked excellent just based on the data alone. So I'll be eager to look at his video as soon as I can. But yeah, just to reiterate that behind what Vinny had to say about Nolan Sell. So it seems like a real interesting 2026 coming out of this event that we didn't know prior to, so which is always fun. Awesome. Well, the next kind of segment here within the showcase, wanted to talk about some of the familiar faces that we saw. So there was a few seniors that we'd seen, plenty of times before, and then some faces that we'd seen or we hadn't seen for a little while. But one, first of all, Trevor Vandehey. I mean, this is one of the top seniors in the state for extremely obvious reasons, but we got a chance to see him again up close and personal in Green Bay this past weekend. Can any of you guys sum up? Was it more of the same, just sort of explosive tools across the board, can do a little bit of everything, or what?
Explosive tools with ease. That's all you have to say.
Yep.
Well, Fields made a good point, too, when we were talking about Trevor and his day and just kind of like how he was just doing crazy Trevor Vandehey type things at all different stations of the facility, right? So his 60 was one of the top. It was a 6.73, I believe.
Yep.
One of the top 60s of the day. And then the exit velocity of 102 with a wood bat, right? So he decided to use a wood bat. 92 from the outfield and his defensive work. But again, Fields and I looked at each other. It's like, okay, like he just did everything super easy. Like there was no effort to what he was doing, and then he just kind of puts up those numbers. Ridiculous numbers, and again with wood, that was kind of the most impressive thing. Like he just decided to use wood in a showcase setting. So yeah, I mean the sky is the limit for Trevor Vandehey. We've talked about this before, 9th ranked player in the state of the 2025 class. So the sky is the limit, and if he ever gets to like his full ceiling, I mean it's a pro guy, right? I mean when you think about it, if he ever gets to it, and he's got a good chance to do that at Iowa. He's going there next year.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, feels that you see the same type of thing out of Trevor.
100%. And as like the years have gone on, we've seen Trevor for a while. You kind of get to meet these kids, know these kids a little more, and the personality's coming out with Trevor a little more. So like on top of that, he has some makeup working for him. He has a work ethic, and just big fan of Trevor Vandehey. Yeah.
No, I'm excited. One of us is going to see him at least once, I would think, in the spring. Just from like this pro perspective, because it's definitely worth checking in on. I mean, this is the type of like sleeper, quote unquote, I would think, if you're a professional scout in the area, if you can kind of get a cross checker or somebody to trust your evaluation here. I mean, like the tools alone like kind of stand out. So Trevor Vandehey, Iowa commit. We'll see what happens this spring, but good stuff. Good to see him again. We also saw. I was surprised to see this name here for awesome reasons. Trent Euler was one of the top prospects, or one of the top athletes, just pound-for-pound athletes in the state. I was just looking online, and he's like a 3-star tight end in football. But we'd seen him when he was like in 8th grade, freshman year too, because he played a lot of baseball back then. I think he shifted his focus onto football and like even track and field, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, back then, I mean, he was this tall kid who just moved like really, really well, like for his size and his age. and it seems like he's like kind of the same type of dude. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. He ran a 6.58 with a 28-inch vertical, and he was up to 91 miles an hour. It's just kind of ridiculous. I don't know why. I would love. Did you guys talk? I'm not quite sure why he was there. It'd be sweet if he played baseball in college. I don't know if he is, but if that's the reason, then awesome.
We were so locked in. First of all, the event was run so efficiently by basically Josh Fields with the way that he was able to run the flow. So I was locked in. These events still make my head spin just in terms of how it's all flowing together, but Josh saved us there. So my head was locked in. I looked over and I saw Trent Euler while I'm trying to like take in how this whole thing is going to be run efficiently. I look over to my right and I see Trent Euler, basically Gronk, on the mound, throwing 91, and just like the body is he's just a physical specimen. He literally looks like Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, I saw him in a tweet like running. I was like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. So on the football field. So I was like kind of shocked that he was there, but like that it was big time to see him. So. Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance actually to talk to him. I texted with a couple of the people around the state, and they didn't know who he was either. Just in terms of like, okay, where's he from? Who is he? So, it's it would be really awesome if he played football and baseball because potentially, I mean, this could be if he continues to perhaps get on a velo program. I mean, again, it's coming out at 91. You never know what could happen here at the next level. So. Really impressive from Trent Euler, the athleticism.
Yeah, I was just pumped to see that name. I just hadn't seen that name on a baseball field in a little while, so always good to see that. Then we had Bryce Loker. So Bryce, soft spot for Bryce just because he was one of the last additions to our Future Games team from last summer, and he sort of just got, unfortunately, the bad luck straw or whatever you want to call it because he pitched towards the end of our first game, so his first outing. Obviously, it starts raining right when he starts pitching. Then it started raining a little harder, whatever. So it was just tough to get the best look at him or his own performance out of that in that moment. And then I think he just had a minor injury, like in the next day or two or whatever. So he decided not to pitch in his second outing, which was tough. But commits to South Dakota State regardless. He's really, really talented. Comes to this event. Where he looked like an even more polished version of himself, 6'1", up to 91.3. He's always been able to spin. Looked like the spin got even better or at least more efficient. So just seemingly really continues to be this high follow junior to pay attention to, right?
He was on my mound, yeah. And first thing I said to him, I said, "Man, Bryce, you got bigger." So that was the first thing when I was writing up his report on the quick hits is I was like, okay, let's look at the metrics and in fact, let's see what he measured at Lake Point last July, in late July when he was at the Future Games. And actually he was 5'11", I think 159 pounds, but he just gained just 5 pounds, but he did look bigger and more physical. There's more in this frame, despite the fact that he does look wiry and trim and real fit. But there's more in this frame. There is more coming to Bryce Loker. More strength, more physicality. He's so twitchy on the mound.
Yeah, he is.
Stefan Haylock was on the mound with me, and he's a helper at Prep Baseball. Has a ton of feel for the game. Really loves Stefan. And we were talking about Bryce and his delivery and how he really sinks into that lower half. It looks exactly like Aroldis Chapman from the right side, just in terms of how he sinks into that back hip and gets moving down the mound with his lower half. That's why he throws so hard, because his lower half is so explosive, so strong, and then he's got a really quick arm. But, yeah, the secondaries, like you said, Andy, you were spot on with that. The secondaries were better and more consistent. It was a nasty little slurvy slider curveball thing, and then the changeup as well. But it was up to 91. He said that was his best fastball ever. So we just saw his best fastball.
I was optimistic about him because I knew he was coming to the event. But even then, I don't know if I would have expected 91 plus on that. But kudos to him.
Healthy elbow, he told me. So
nice.
Confirmed. Yeah,
nice, good stuff, Bryce. Yeah, South Dakota State. I think they got a good one in my opinion because, like Vinny said, physically, I think he's just going to continue to add. And he's always been like a quick arm kid, and he checks a ton of those metric boxes behind their measurables, I guess I should say, behind the scenes too. So good stuff. Bryce and Merrick I remembered how to pronounce this, but I'm going to botch this on this recording, I'm sure. Marek Wozniakowski. I'm pretty sure that's right. Maybe not. But he's UW-Stevens point commit catcher who seems like he should rise up the senior rankings. He's a 2025. Right, Vinny? I mean, he just looked like metrically across the board when I was going through this. It just seemed like he had a really impressive day all around.
He did, and we had 17 catchers there. I mean, and they were all really, really good and polished. I mean, really good behind the dish just in terms of their bullpen work when they were catching some of these arms, but then also with the defensive work, the pop times that we were looking at. Marek was – sorry, I'm getting confused on his name. Marek was 80 miles per hour from behind the crouch, right? So that's a big number for a catcher in terms of just raw arm strength. And then it was 194, and every single throw I remember in his round was right on the bag. So just a really impressive day from him. He's going to UW-Stevens Point. They're getting a good one. He could potentially step in right away and play and handle himself just fine behind the plate and then the swing. Fields loved it. He had a big number on him with the grading system that we have here with the bat.
Yeah, Fields, you're our resident catcher guy. So what do you got?
Sounds good. I didn't know about that beforehand, but there was an adjustment here. It was a lot shorter, a lot more fluid, but there was a ton of loud contact. It was again one of the most consistent, one of the most elevated hard contact rounds of the day. Ton of polish. It looked a lot more comfortable, more natural. Ton of balance throughout. It was definitely eye-opening from Eric.
Nice.
Yeah.
You have any?
Well, I want to just so we're done with the 2025s, right? We kind of going through the 3 2025s that we wanted to take a look at and just talk about briefly. But we missed the 2026. I should have mentioned this before recording. But Gavin Levin was a guy.
Yeah.
Was another catcher. Because again, the round defensively was equally impressive. From Gavin Levin, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and then Josh. It was equally impressive as the 2025 Marek. Yep. It was also a 194. I think his velo might have been 79, but I think it might have also been 80. I actually don't know from behind the dish. 79 miles per hour behind the dish from Gavin. Also a really good ride. I just wanted to mention him as a 2026 that stood out at the event, and he's likely gonna be a rank from here. But Josh, you know that he's hit in game and you've liked the swing as well. So, good look from him.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's good to know when there's a catcher who can catch. I mean, like that is a seriously rare, like when college coaches hit us up, like almost like when they're introducing themselves to a new class, like one that they're just starting to sink their teeth into. Generally, the first question I get is do you have any catchers or like who's the best catcher and like on the board still. So like if you can catch, like you're going to find a spot, and it sounds like Gavin can definitely do that. So awesome stuff there. Moving on now to some of the 2027s, the sophomores that stood out on Saturday. We'll go through these a little quicker. But this is always like a special group for us. Like when we start to evaluate for obvious reasons, like the future games, this is the class that will be represented there. So just finding players to see in the spring and the summer. To ultimately make that team and then take part or take part in our second annual Wisconsin State games at the end of the summer. So this class is always really important this time of year to see these up-and-coming sophomores. First on the list, it appears like Ethan Hellgreen, two-way player from Neenah. We were pretty familiar with this kid already. But, man, I thought metrically, again, just reading sort of the stat lines here, like he was one of the top performers just in general and not just as a 2027. So, one of you guys, maybe Fields, you want to start us off if you got a chance to see his round of BP?
Yeah, and the bat really has a chance from the right side. It's flash a ton of feel for the barrel, and when he's on the barrel, the ball really jumps. A lot of elevation, flash feel for the pull side, and even backspin some baseball. So just bet on the athlete here with the chance to stick defensively at shortstop on the left side and can also potentially hold his own with the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he really made a name for himself on Saturday, didn't he? I mean, big jump in terms of some of the measurables, right? So he went from a 7.52 60 last time we saw him at the same event last year to he ran a 6.95. Really athletic gait too, right? So I mean, just the way that he moves around the baseball field, that's kind of what you're looking at as well and impressed with. So 98 max exit velocity, up from 87 last year. And then on the mound, it was impressive. So it was 86. It's a smooth, it's an easy delivery. There's multiple pitches here for strikes. He repeats. But, so 78 mile-per-hour fastball last year up to 86 this year. So big jumps for Ethan Hellengreen. Yeah. And he's going to, talking to Jason Birkin and Eric Cordier, who do a great job with ISA, the program up north there, they said that he is going to come from out from behind the plate, and he's now going to play shortstop for their top team. So they see the athlete in him as well and realize that he can stick on the dirt up the middle.
Yeah, that's a great note too, because I remember him from maybe it was like the fall of 2023 possibly, but he looked like a really advanced, like, young catcher at the time. I remember thinking, like, his receiving stood out to me. He was catching pens for, like, older kids, if I'm not mistaken, and that was, like, sort of the skill set just right away that, like, was obvious to me. So him moving out from catcher to shortstop, like, clearly it seems like he has, like, the athleticism to do so, but maybe there'll be some growing pains or something. But it's almost like if he already looks this good, or he just seems very capable of making that move, I guess is what I'm getting at. So we'll be looking at, like, how that development goes. And so great day out of Ethan. Fields, I'll let you talk about Garrett Smith. This is a player that really broke out on Saturday from Hortonville. Two-way player, just can do a little bit of everything, and a bigger kid too.
Yeah, so it's a 6'3", like, just lean frame, long limbs, left-handed hitter. Looks young still, but you can really just dream on, certain power potential out of the frame here, especially with the fluidity in the swing and just the ease of the operation. When he was able to impact the baseball out front, he was really driving the baseball in the air with authority and backspin. So on top of that, it's a really lean frame, and there's just limitless room, it seems like, to just add to the frame.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the mound, I mean, you don't know. I actually can't envision, like, if there is a clear path to one or the other, because it was impressive on the mound as well. So, yeah, I mean, just he is going to add to that frame, like Field said, and then he's just going to start, potentially pumping not 90s yet, but upper 80s and the low 90s at some point. Just the sophomore Garrett Smith, lot to like about him.
Yeah, 6'3", 7'11" runner, strong on both sides of the ball, up to 87 on the mound, 94 max exit. Like, again, just can do a little everything, and with that size, like, certainly a high follow player coming out of this event. A couple kids here. I don't know if they're related, so I won't presume that they're related. But Kimberly, Maddox, Hermes, and Braden Hermes, both Kimberly kids, like I said. Maddox is someone we saw in the spring in game. He's a strong athlete. I think he's actually a standout kicker at Kimberly as well. But he's a 6'8" runner, 25-inch vertical. It looked like metrically, like he was really impressive on the mound. I'm not sure who saw him, if one of you did. But it was pretty interesting. And it was interesting last spring when we just got a glimpse of him from the pen, too. So I'm curious if anybody has any notes on his performance on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll let Fields take the hitting, but he was on my mound, and it's Hermus, right? So in your rundown here. Yeah, so one of them's Hermus. So that Maddox is Hermus, so Hermus. And then the next guy we're going to talk about, Braden Hermes or Hermes. But
there you go.
There you go. Figured out the spelling. No, definitely not related. But Maddox was impressive. One of my favorite players at the event. Okay, and the fact that this kid he's got this compact frame, but he was, talk about explosiveness in the delivery, and then in the infield work as well. But just in his delivery, and it was such a quick arm. It was like a again, you love my comps, but Craig Kimbrell type of, like, a whippy, arm slot where he just really whips the arm through from a lower release height. That's exactly what it looked like. It might not have been that explosive because it wasn't in the upper 90s or anything like that. But it looked similar to that, and it had a ton of run to the pitch and some sink to it as well. And then he had a good sharp breaking ball to go with it. But yeah, and then Fields told me that this kid was one of their top players or a big time contributor for Kimberly last year. Mm-hmm. So it was really, really good, and then certainly can stick on the left side of the infield with that kind of arm strength and that kind of athleticism as well. It was a very, very impressive look from Maddox Hermes.
Got it.
Yeah. Fields, what the bat look like?
Yeah, I mean, this is just another strong kid. Like I said, I mean, he performed his way up to Kimberly as a freshman. That's one of the better programs in the state. That's hard to do. But throughout the round, it was a lot of strong contact from the left side. The ball really jumped, and there was evident bat speed with some bats to ball as well present. So this is another guy that I could see contributing in the middle of or anywhere throughout Kimberly's lineup just because they do have a lot of talent.
In that 6.85 number for the 60 time. Yeah. I mean, it's just a sophomore. And when you look at him, he's so compact, the frame, but he is some kind of strong. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a running back. I'm not sure if he does. He's a kicker. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah I'm sure he could play running back as well. But, it was compact. It was an explosive lower half.
Yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew comp, potentially.
Yes, love that. It's a great comp. You're getting better, Andy.
I hope you feel complimented by that, Maddox. I think that's kind of an elite comp. And then Braden Hermes, strong, 6'1", lefty. It seemed like he was a pretty athletic kid, and then up to 83. I think that's always pretty notable when you're a sophomore, left-handed, up to 83 with athleticism. I didn't see the video of him per se, but if someone here did see his session on the mound, I'm curious how that went, just because just going on paper, it definitely stands out to me.
Yeah, he's going to be a big physical kid as well. Really wide and sloped shoulders from Braden. Another Kimberly kid. Yeah, I mean, it's 173.5 pounds currently, but he is going to get big and physical. And there's a quick arm here, lower release height from the left side. So you can never count out lefties, especially ones that are going to get, ones with this kind of frame and that are going to get physical like Braden.
Yeah, for sure. Couple more 2027s here to mention. Isaac Aoki from Ashwaubenon. Seemed like he was a pretty athletic kid who did just kind of a little bit of everything. He was 88 from the outfield, 91 max exit. So something worthwhile and monitoring there, as well as a catcher from Bayport, Arthur Adams the fifth, which you don't get a lot of the fifths. I feel like that the fifth stood out to me. But the catch and throw seemed like it was really good. He was up to 77 out of the crouch, and it seemed like there was some bat speed, bat strength there as well. So I don't know if I'm on it.
We've liked Arthur in the past. Fields and I really liked him last time we saw him at this showcase last year. The ball jumps off this kid's bat. It is a very short, compact, really tight rotation through the baseball, and with a lot of balance. So, but then again, another really good round behind the plate. This was from round to round. It was like not just the pop times, but also the accuracy from which these kids were throwing from. So, really impressed with Arthur Adams and what the performance he put forth on Saturday.
Sweet. Anything to add there, Fields?
No, Vinny kind of hit it right on the head there. Yeah. A lot of balance, a lot of feel for the barrel, and some strength.
Yep. Okay. Sweet. That sums it up. All right, and then quickly here we'll talk about a handful of the 2028s, the freshmen that stood out. There was quite a few, but we'll just talk about three here, I should say. Like the two-way player, Andrew Weisner from Sevastopol. And he was on our Junior Future Games team, so we're pretty familiar with him. Good to see him again. Seems like he just got better and better over this past offseason, which was sweet to see. Tyler Sadzinski, young brother, I'm assuming, of Drew, Notre Dame Academy. It looked like he had a really good round that Vinny, or maybe it was Fields, had really strong notes on. So we'll hear about him in a sec. And then Carson Tegelman from Appleton North, another Appleton North kid. Really big physical frame here, and just overall one of the stronger 28s in attendance. So here are these three. You guys got anything to add?
Fields?
So yeah, Tyler Sajinski. So yeah, it's Drew's younger brother, but similarly to Drew, Tyler takes great rounds of BP. Just really natural feel for the barrel, natural swing. It's a lot of ease in the operation with balance and just very quality round. Like the contact, line drives up the middle with backspin. It was really impressive, especially to see that from a 2028.
Yeah, and I want to point out Andrew Wiesner. So that was the year that I actually ended up missing the future games. I think it was in Atlanta doing Brewers Braves that day or that week, and so I missed Wiesner when he was a JFGer with you guys. And this is a loose, long framed. Talk about projection to the frame. He's 6'1" now. This kid's going to end up like 6'4". Yeah, I feel like. You're right. So, I mean, and he's going to fill out as well. But it's so easy and loose and repeatable with everything that he did. Mound, defense, swing, all really, really good. The swing was super loose and easy, and the ball was absolutely jumping off of his bat. And like I said, he's going to get bigger and stronger. Love the delivery as well. So it's so smooth, easy, and loose through the delivery. He gets good extension down the mound, multiple pitches for strikes. Andrew Wiesner's one to watch out for.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that sums up, I think, just our initial notes here on the Green Bay Preseason ID. Like I said earlier, we're publishing our huge quick hit story, which is highlights on these players and more from the event. I mean, it was a great event as per usual. So we'll break this down even more in more detailed fashion in the next, 24 hours or so. So be on the lookout for that.
Let me just say one thing, too. Again, just the last couple of years when we've run this event, right? So I think 2 years ago, we started at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock check-in and then got done at like 10 p.m. And then this year, or last year, it was like a 7 p.m. departure for everybody. Yeah. So then this year, we were done by 3:30 or 4. And again, we've kind of figured out the flow for this event and for ISA. And then again, it wouldn't have happened without Josh Fields' mastermind and his ability to help out with the flow and just keep everything moving. So great event. Make sure you guys get to it next year because I think we got that flow down. Yeah. I just wanted to point that out about the event as well.
That is a great note because I'm sure that was a deterrent maybe at times. Like I'll go to a different one, but. And we were getting used to the facility too. It's a new, nice facility up there. Right. So just figuring out the lay of the land and stuff. But we're operating at maximum efficiency now. So be prepared for that in 2026. All right, awesome. Well, we'll get to latest commitments here, which there weren't too many, I don't think, the last week. Fields, correct me if I'm wrong. If these are the 4 I had, but Cole O'Brien, DC Everest, UW Whitewater commit now. That's actually a really fun fit. I'm curious how that goes because Cole was somebody that really stood out to us at the Eau Claire ID last year. I think it was last year, maybe the year before. But either way, that's going to be fun to watch to see how he develops and grows. Just a high ceiling right-handed pitcher from the DC Everest. Will Naroth from Verona area committed to St. Mary's, Minnesota. Connor Peck from Indian Trail, UW Stout, and Benny Kiefer from Kimberly, UW Eau Claire. So unless missing somebody Fields, I think that covers our latest commitments. Good. Among them, there were 3 WEAC players committed, and I think that is a good transition into our college baseball update. So this week, I actually wanted to spend a little bit more time talking about the Division III, I guess primarily Division III programs in the state of Wisconsin, just since quite a few of them got off the ground in the last week or two. And there's a lot of takeaways here. So we'll get into it. Just with the quality of Wisconsin college baseball at the Division III level specifically, I think it's always fun to just kind of check back on how these programs are doing since we see them so often at the Rock and so on like throughout the summer because they're obviously recruiting in-state. But something that was interesting, and it's a little bit more, I guess, familiar with like a UW Whitewater. I think just looking at the rosters over the years since I've been doing this, like there is quite a few states like represented, and not just from the Midwest, but from coast to coast, which is cool. But they had a massive 3-game sweep of a Kentucky D3 program, Asbury, And some familiar names stuck out. Eli Frank from Bayport, 3 extra base hits in that series. Daryl Jackson, shortstop from Milwaukee King, who was a great player in high school. He had 5 hits to start us off. And then elsewhere in the WEAC, so UW Platteville off to a 1-2 start. Some familiar names there in the middle of the lineup: Sam Meidenbauer, Brady Catterhagen from Union Grove, Meidenbauer from Waukesha West. Both of them are sandwiched right in the middle of the lineup, so it'll be fun to see how they help the Pioneers. Platteville, UW Oshkosh off to 2-2 start. Actually, quite a few Illinois kids stood out on that lineup. There weren't as many Wisconsin kids, but I mean, they're just getting going here. So I just kind of glanced at these rosters. But elsewhere in the WEAC, UW Eau Claire is starting up tomorrow. Lacrosse starts on Friday. Vinny in California, so be on high alert. Stevens Point, doubleheader at Wash U on Saturday. Stout starts in Central Illinois over the weekend, so it'll be fun to pay attention to that. Also, UW Parkside, I think this is definitely worth highlighting. So kudos to Zach Charbonneau, head coach out there. 3rd year at the helm of this Parkside program, and they're off to a 9-1 start. This is the best start in their program's history. They're the only Division II program in the state, and they've done it in a very, turned this thing around in a very, the way you would, hope and expect to. They've recruited really, really well. They've built, this really strong culture, I feel like. I've always enjoyed my conversations with Coach Charbonneau. I feel like he does a great job, and I mean, the proof is obviously in the record here to start this season. So just wanted to mention a couple standouts right away, so some Wisconsin kids that you might be familiar with. Angel Radis from Oak Creek is off to a good start there. Freshmen, there's quite a few freshmen from the area that you might know if you're listening to this that are off and running. Max Johnson from South Milwaukee is hitting quite a bit. Nathan Hannell from Oak Creek, catcher. I believe he started yesterday, but he's already 4 for 10 to start this season. Sam Mommer, St. Thomas More, really one of the best players in the state last year. He has 13 strikeouts and 13 innings, which leads the program so far. And he's fresh off a dominant performance, too. I just can't remember the box score, the final stat line, but he was really, really strong in his latest start. 2.08 ERA just to start this season so far. So good stuff there. Al Leitner from Kimberly, he was just this really dependable right-handed pitcher for Kimberly when he was in high school, and all of a sudden here he is at Parkside just kind of doing the same for them. So that's just a fun story to monitor. I think this year is at Parkside, just another Wisconsin-based program that you can look to and consider as an option to play college baseball, of course. But, they're getting better and better. I mean, this was a place that was I don't know, it would have been tough for a Parkside to even compete against some of the other programs in the state, D3.
Yeah,
whatever.
the D3s.
But now it seems like that was a really strong roster when I was looking at it.
And they play their home games now at Simmons Field, correct? That's where the Kenosha Kingfish play. So good facility there. And then we've loved Sam Mommer. I mean, and now all of a sudden Parkside has him. Just dominating performance early, and then we were just kind of waiting for Nathan Hannell's bat to take off. We always knew he could catch and throw, and now he's kind of leading that pitching staff there, off to a 9-1 start. But now he's 4 for 10, so the bat speed is ticked up a little bit. I've seen some videos from Nathan Hannell. Good friend of mine, his dad is Marcus Hannell, showed me some videos. So his bat speed's ticked up, and let's see if Nathan Hannell can sustain this success with the bat, because that was the last piece kind of we were waiting for from Nathan.
Yeah, I mean, if he does, I mean, that's all of a sudden got to be one of the better catchers, just period, in at least the Division II ranks. I mean, it was that good defensively. So if he can catch, then all of a sudden that's a pretty special player. Just some other huge performances, non-Division I teams in the last week or two that I think are worth mentioning here. Thomas Ward, I remember him back in the day at Waukesha West. He has 4 homers in his first 8 games and 24 RBIs for Carroll, which is pretty ridiculous. MSOE, new head coach, Adrian Santiago, 2-0 to start after a doubleheader sweep of Carroll at home. Cam Hoyer from West Bend West is 5 for 8 to start the season, 4 RBIs. Graham Caston, huge fans of Graham Caston on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Maddox Durst's favorite player ever. Yeah.
5 for 12 to start the season at Concordia with a double and a home run. He had 8 RBIs so far this season, which leads the team. And in his debut against Carroll, I think it was, he had 6 RBIs and a home run, maybe a grand slam in that game. Alex Kuntz, sophomore from Hartford High School, Left-handed pitcher. He has 14 strikeouts in 5 2/3 innings. Or actually, he did that all in one start against Bethany Lutheran, which is that's phenomenal there. And I think that highlights the notes from like those non-D1 sections. But I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know if you guys have anything to add, but it just seems like it's just fun to see the quality of baseball in Wisconsin, since we probably mention this every week. But
yeah,
you'll be Milwaukee, the only D1, so seeing these other programs flourishes.
Yeah, well, Fields, I want to get your take too on this. So, like, you and Andy, you guys feel like the D3 level is only going to continue to get stronger, right? I mean, because with the transfer portal, didn't we just hear Rick Pitino say that he doesn't even recruit high school players anymore? And I know that's basketball, but
yeah, but it's not like a stretch, you know. Like, I mean, it's
right.
a smaller roster, but still, it's like a mentality that
Yeah, I mean, so maybe you're going to see all of a sudden how, you know, these D3 programs, especially around here, because there is only the one D1 and then the one D2, just get extremely strong with a lot of these talented players that only continue to get better here in the state of Wisconsin, these prep players here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Fields, I don't know, because you talk to college coaches maybe even more than either of us, to be honest, but have you, like, got a sense of, I don't know, how things are shaking out just on the latest?
I mean, just doing our commitment tweets for, like, on prep baseball side, it seems like there's just a lot of more talent, like, making their way to Division III, like, ranks. But it's definitely cool just going through this and seeing, wow, multiple D3s and, like, lower level, like, college, like, classification division level. They're doing great to start the year. Like, not only the high school talent is ticking up, but the teams and the programs and the college ranks ticking up as well.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it just kind of means you have to value different things if you're considering I don't know, Parkside. Like, it's going to be a lot more fun to go to a program when you're like winning, obviously.
Yeah.
But like I think don't underestimate how miserable it could be if, you know, the coach is on the hot seat and, like, you know, they won 6 games last year or something, and just because, you know, it's Division I or something like that, or like,
right.
I mean, it's just one of those things that you don't underestimate some of those things that you might, like, forget about. So just kind of take a full picture view at your options. All right, and then just real quick, like elsewhere, kind of like some, you know, post-grad notes here. The Braves, I mean, they might have 2 Wisconsin dudes in the starting lineup on opening day, potentially, because Sean Murphy just got hurt. So Drake Baldwin and Jared Kelnick might be in the starting lineup, which would be kind of crazy. And then I think Drake Baldwin drove in, like, Cade Bunnell in a spring training game. So a ton of Wisconsin flavor there with the Braves. Yeah. Kind of crazy. Tanner Kohlhepp made an appearance for the Tigers in a spring training game, struck out 2 guys. Gavin Keelan had, like, the most ridiculous, like, weekend ever in the last, like, 4 games. He is 11 for 18 with 8 RBIs, 4 home runs, a double, and a triple.
Wow.
So I remember this was a guy that people questioned, you know, the power potential, I guess, in high school, especially in high school. And I know, like, there's a lot being said about, like, the bats and stuff right now in college, so maybe you have to, like, you know, take everything with a grain of salt. But still, like, if, you know, Gavin Keelan doing this as an everyday shortstop at Tennessee, that means quite a bit. So that's been awesome to see. Charlie Marion just continues to rake, so I guess that's just going to be a weekly segment now at the Charlie Marion Show. Alex Alcea, his second collegiate home run, which was awesome. I saw a video of it.
How many did he hit in high school?
I don't know. Actually,
0.
I don't think he hit any as at least, like, over the fence. I can't remember if he hit any as a senior, but pretty sweet there. Mitch Voigt, Jonathan Kim continue to do it. So I don't know. It's crazy. Carson Hansen, like, I don't want to forget him. He's got 3 homers in 6 games, 17 at bats. Ethan Hindle's starting to play a little bit more. He hit a home run over the weekend. Caleb Carl hit a homer for Ohio. Noah Weck struck out 4 guys in 3 innings. Looked kind of electric doing it. So sweet. It's like these guys keep just getting it done, and earlier too. I mean, a lot of these guys we're talking about are, you know, if they're not freshmen, they're sophomores finding ways to play, you know, more and more and more. So kudos to those dudes and representing Wisconsin well at the next level.
Yeah, Cheeser's getting it done, right? So all over the country, in pro ball and college baseball at the prep level. So we're just putting ourselves on the map big time here in you know, nationally and then locally as well. But yeah, just really good to see a lot of these kids, it's just a chip on your shoulder, right? When you're from the cold weather state, when you're from Wisconsin, you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder that you're going to have that just a little bit extra edge to beat other teams, to beat other prospects out. And that's what you're seeing right now at the collegiate level and even in pro ball.
Yeah, and I think I retweeted over the weekend. I believe it was a reporter covering like Tennessee athletics, but baseball, and it was like a Tony Vitello quote of like talking about how Wisconsin kids are, I don't know if he said built different, but more or less he said built different. Yeah, I think that sums up with him, with Keelan and Nate Snead and the dugout over there, and it's just kind of cool to see that recognition at the highest level of collegiate baseball. So there's some more evidence of it. All right, awesome. Well, we'll briefly just mention, like, this Sunday we're going to be at Hitters Baseball near Racine for really one of the longest running showcases in our company, honestly, the South Milwaukee ID. So we'll be back there on Sunday. Obviously, this is just one of the most talent-packed events year after year. You know, this is where Gavin Keelan himself, he went multiple years in a row, 3 years in a row. Mitch Voigt, Charlie Marion, Alex Alsea, all those guys had been through this event in years past. So we'll see more of those next dudes in line, like Dom Santarelli, Vinny's guy. Vinny's like, I think Vinny would take him first overall if he had the draft pick in 2026. I
might, yep.
But I don't know if I could blame you. So he'll be there. Plus, there's a ton of really good 2027s on this roster that we're going to see on Sunday, which that'll be fun. Jack Spielman, Ira Hilbelink, just to name a couple. Those are two of the top sophomores in the state of Wisconsin. So just going to be a really, really good event. Excited for that. So that's Sunday at Hitters Baseball. There's still time to register, I guess. So if you're looking to do that, there will be spots available. We'll also be at the Mosh in a few weeks' time as well. So that's another option in the area for you guys, too. And that brings us to the routine report, Vinny. We have here, I'll lead you in, two-way players. We didn't mention them yet, and that was for this very obvious reason. Colin Reddy was one of the top performers on Saturday at the Green Bay ID. So, Vinny, I'll let you take it away on Colin.
Yeah, Colin Reddy, Appleton North. It's a right-handed pitcher / third baseman. Don't really know where his future is going to be. We've always seen him more as like an arm, but this kid was really, really good on the mound and with the bat on Saturday at ISA at the Green Bay Preseason ID. So up to 87 miles per hour with a fastball. Ton of horizontal run on that pitch, up to 21 inches of horizontal run on that pitch. And then the changeup as well out of the same window had up to 19 inches of horizontal run with depth on that pitch as well. Had a nice little sharp breaking ball to go with it. With the bat, impressive. Exit velocities, average exit velocities of 90 miles per hour, so plenty of pop in the bat, all over the barrel. Was a 704 runner, so again, just not sure exactly where he's going to end up. Have seen him on the mound just perform really well, did the same thing on Saturday, but just a really nice job from Colin Reddy, the 50th ranked player in Wisconsin for the 2026 class, remains uncommitted, probably not for long, so nice job by Colin.
Yeah. Good stuff, yeah, and that's exactly right. Like, he's been a pitchability, like, go-to arm. Like, we've liked it a lot on the mound, but the gains made offensively and stuff here from this past Saturday that Colin showed is worth mentioning. So we highlighted it here in this routine report segment. So good job, Colin. All right, well that sums us up for this week. Appreciate you guys listening. We haven't come up with a better outro yet, so we're just going to keep rolling with this one until we come up with a better one. But thank you guys for listening. But as always, we'll leave you with this. Let's bring back Badger baseball. All right, see you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Badger State Ball Podcast. To keep tabs on our latest events, rankings, and coverage, subscribe or follow the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, and follow us over at PrepBaseballWI on X and at PrepBaseballReport.com/Wisconsin. Until next time.